Hey everybody, welcome again to another broadcast. So glad that you guys can make it with us today, and hope you're having a wonderful day here. Well, if you're President Biden, you might not be having a good day, because I was just happened to be on Twitter, or actually in our group. That's where I found it, on our Threema group. And someone actually posted that Biden is saying that he has COVID. That's not good. Yeah, he said he has COVID. But what's also interesting about that is that Biden also is the same person, I believe, said something like this: you're not going to get it if you have these vaccinations. You remember that? I'm bringing this up. Does this have anything to do with our main topic? No. Well, kind of, sort of, maybe. No. Maybe. Sort of. I'm bringing this up because this is exactly what we're talking about here. Even with this, how many black folks that are just pushing for this man? And again, I don't care if you go for Trump or him. We don't care. We don't play either side on that here. But one would think that you would have black folks out here that would go back, pull up this receipt and say, well, Mr. President, you said that once I take this thing, that everything's going to be cool. And not just him. There are many other people that said the same thing. And many other people said the same thing. But I guarantee you, people like Roly Poly Martin, people like Joy Reid, people like some of these other black talking heads that you may hear or listen to on social media, on cable TV or whatever, they will not bring this up at all. This should be a huge concern for black folks who vote. A huge concern. I mean, you want to talk about red flag? This is a huge red flag. Now, like I said, let me be very clear again, because Trump is one that actually was pushing, and he's also kind of made commitment that he's going to, him and his vice president, they're going to continue to push this thing. So they made it ultra clear. So like I said, again, You could pick a side. It don't matter. Both of them are in on this. But when is it that we're going to hear black voices out here, particularly in the political field, begin to hold people accountable to stuff like this? They're going to totally ignore it. And you know what a lot of these black folks are going to say? You know what them black preachers that were out there talking about, some of y'all out here complaining about sometime he stammers and can't put a sentence together. But God, you know, you're going to see people still ignore and say, hey, you know what? He's just like us. Still, even with this. I'm telling you, there's a mindset. And see, if you operate at a low frequency, you will overlook this. You will completely overlook this. And it's like the brains of a lot of people just at a glaze. It's like, this wouldn't even alarm you. Even with many of our people who are no longer with us because of this thing. Still, nobody, when we talk about black media, they're not bringing it up. They're not bringing it up. Here you got now the president of the United States who made this statement. And you're not going to hear anybody in black media at all bringing this up. Well, you know, then they'll start making excuses. This is why we say, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to look out for yourself and your family. It's your responsibility. Okay, it's your responsibility ultimately, not the political people, you know, heck, not even people on YouTube, not even me. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I'll share what I know and try to be truthful and honest as much as I can. I don't know everything. I'm just going to show you, just like you know a little bit, I know a little bit. But ultimately, the decision to investigate and to ask questions is going to be on you. You cannot blame anybody else for your bad decision making. You can't blame anybody else. It's on you, all on you. So whatever decisions you make, you and your family make, it's on you. You can't blame the preacher. You ain't going to be able to blame your moray. You ain't going to be able to blame the government. It's all on you. Because ultimately, these people out here, they definitely don't care about you. They don't, you know. And so you have to have enough self-respect to care about yourself, to begin to do your own investigation, pick up a book, research, ask questions, disagree, but disagree respectfully. You know, it's okay to do these things. But so many of our people are being scared into making decisions. Oh, if he comes in the office, it's going to be slavery all over again. It's going to be Roots Part 3. It's going to be the metaverse of Roots. You know, it ain't going to just be one verse. It's going to be multiverses of Roots that's going to happen. If the other guy gets into office, I can hear the chains rattling right now. I'm telling you right now that all of this fear, if you have to be scared to make any decision in life, then don't make the decision. It's easy. Don't make the decision. If I have to scare you into that, see, this is what religion does. You better, at the count of 3, my wife, her former pastor in North Carolina, he was very good at this. He would do these altar calls, man, and would scare you. He'd be like, okay, we're going to give an altar call. I want everybody in the room, every eye closed, every head bowed right now. It's just you and God. It's just you and God. It's just you and God. That's it. And you're in this dark place here. Okay. And it's just you and him. And he's going to give you the one. That's it. That's number 1 right now. Okay. 1, 1, 1. I got 1 right now. Okay. You got 2 more times. To make a decision. 2. All right. Wait a minute now. You better think about it. Because once I say 3, that's going to be it. The doors are going to be locked. We're not going to let anybody else come into the offering. I'm sorry, not the offering, the altar. You know, we're not going to let anybody else come up. No, that's it. When I say 3, after 3, that's it. This is a decision that you're going to have to make. Remember now, it's just you and God in this dark room, and you just looking up at him. If it's dark, how are you looking up at him? But anyway, it's dark and you just looking straight at him. And his eyes of fire are piercing you right now. 3. That's it. That's it. Hands all over the place. Hands all over the place right now. Hands all over the place right now. I see him right now. Come on up. Come on up right now. Come on up. Come on up. Not you. Not you. Because when I said 3, you delayed. That's it. Sit down. Sit down. You're going to have to do it. I mean, man, when I tell you he would work the crowd like that, and people be just moving, man. When you have to be pushed, when fear is your underlying message in your belief system, then my advice to you is you need to go back and you need to recheck your belief system, because you should never be motivated to do anything out of fear. You hear what I'm saying? And we're in a season right now where they are trying to use all of it to scare people into making these decisions, especially our older population, our people 50, 60 on up. And a lot of our people are being scared into, and see, what they do is they'll tap into things that they may have learned, experienced in their own lifetime. This is why they keep saying over and over again, Jim Crow, and, they start, racist, overt racism and all this other stuff, because that sells well with the older population. Not to say that the younger population doesn't experience these things, but not at the degree that the older population has experienced it. That's why they keep pushing this. Why do you think Al Sharpton still got a job at MSNBC? Al Sharpton doesn't resonate with anybody in the 25 demo. You know what I'm saying? He's still wearing the slick back. Bruh, he still got the slick back. Do you think that resonates with the Kendrick Lamar generation? No, that's for the older people. Well, if Al Sharpton say it, hey, he knows because he got the REV in front of his name. It's just, I'm going to be quiet. But I tell you, you never have to be scared. If anybody's using any kind of fear to scare you into something, then you need to stop. You need to put the brakes on it. Full stop. And I say the same thing with a lot of these people out here that are scaring people. I'm talking about particularly in the Hebrew world, telling you that you better hurry up. You better get out of Babylon. You better run out of Babylon right now. You better run right now because it's falling. Oh, Lord, it's falling. Oh, Babylon, it's coming down. It's all coming down right now. Number one, what you call Babylon is not just here in America. It's a world system. So no matter where you go, including Africa, it's all connected to this system, period. So there's nowhere that you can run away from where you will not be connected to this system. I hate to tell you that, but it's true. Now, can you exist within this system, but not necessarily be dependent on the framework or the clockwork, if you will, of the system? Yes, you can. There are many things you can do. First things first is that you got to rid yourself of the lies that you're embracing and as your own. Do you understand what I'm saying? You gotta free yourself from that. And too many of our people still are embracing the lies because we believe that the lies are ours. So, and as long as we continue to do that, we will, those people will forever be connected to this system. They give you religion. They gave you food. They give you all of this stuff. When you free yourself from all of their belief systems, then you'll begin to see the world in a whole different place. You remember that scene in The Matrix where he was walking down the street with my man, and then everybody was like walking opposite his way. And then, but people were bumping into him and all that. It was like he was in a total different zone. That's what happens when you begin to free yourself from the mentality of this system. You understand? You're still on the earth, but you're not you're operating in a whole different mindset, whole different frequency. Okay. And so don't allow these people to scare you into anything, moving or whatever, making rash decisions about stuff. No, You do not need to do that, okay? You don't need to do that. Now, the only time you need to do that, if you're physically in a house and there's fire, yeah, I mean, stuff like that, or if you're somewhere and someone starts shooting, yeah, you need to get up out of there. But other than that, if you're talking about major life decisions, no, absolutely not. That should be the automatic first flag when someone is using fear to scare you into making life decisions. No, not at all. Okay. So just wanted to give you that before we get started here. And thank you so much for everybody that's in the chat. So glad that you guys can join us here today. Today, we're going to continue our discussion that we have been having here, getting into, sort of last broadcast that we did, that was focused on a particular individual who felt the need to put some things out that were totally false. So we had to, clear that up, respectful, but clear it up and put everything out there. And I even had to put a pin note in there and say, listen, unlike this individual, our comments are open. We even had a live call in, invited people to call in. If you had any questions for me, I'm here. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to bite your head off. Nobody's going to argue down or nothing like that. And it's been just that. We had a couple of people come in and say some crazy things, but I had to, set some order in the comment section. I said, listen, if you're just simply going to repeat lies and not even listen to the video where you're getting the answers, then this is not the place for you. We're not going to give you a platform to continue to repeat lies. You want to be a fanboy or fangirl of that individual, then do that, but do that over there. Okay. But no, you're not going to do that over here. But anything else, I mean, you're fine. Even if you disagree with anything I say, that's fine too. But make sure that you're standing on truth and you're willing, to do that. Because other than that, we're not going to do that here. Okay, we're just not going to do that. Okay, you can vent somewhere else. So anyway, so we did that. And then the video, I'm getting my videos mixed up. The video that followed was the one on in Zombie, because people were bringing that up, saying that we were telling people that, you got to worship in Zombie, the God, and they were, people who have a true hatred for Africa, even though they may say, well, no, I don't. I wear African clothes, that kind of thing, but no, when you deliberately misrepresent African culture, you have a hatred towards that culture. You do. And going around and saying that, in Zombie, who they call their, in some areas, particularly in the Bantu culture, which has all these different subcultures in it, that is their supreme deity, and and we've given examples of, when we say supreme deity, there's a lot of correlation with who we would say God. There are definite differences, and we talked about that. But all in all, many people on the continent, when you say in Zombie, they equate that to the Christian God. You understand what I'm saying? This is why you have a lot of gospel music and stuff like that. And that comes because of what Christianity did to the continent and how they are now reinterpreting that as a Christian God, but it's not. You know what I mean? So there's layers to it. Someone actually left a very good comment on there under that video. You can go back and read it. And it was a really good one that really kind of further explained it. But it's rather, if you want to agree or believe or whatever, that's on you, but you don't lie on us. And most importantly, don't lie on the entire culture. And so we wanted to, that's something that came up, been coming up over and over again. And we decided, let me just do a video, because I've talked about this many, many times in different videos. I said, let me make one video that's specific about that topic. And that way it's done and over with. And that's it. You know what I mean? So anyway, so there you go. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, but this whole thing, what it has done is given me the opportunity to take a closer look at these individuals who are over there in Israel, in the state of Israel, and how it's a very interesting culture, Now, let me just say this on the front end. I am not saying or suggesting that every black Hebrew Israelite, or they call themselves African Hebrew Israelites over there. I'm not saying they all of them live in Demona, because they don't. They live in other places too. But the base of it, if you will is considered Demona. It's a place. It's Demona, Israel. Okay. So in this broadcast, we're going to take a closer look at that. All right. And then we're also going to look at what they have been doing. Some of the things they've been doing, particularly in the area of music and entertainment. It's very interesting that a place that they are calling the Promised Land, but they are in it, seem to be okay with this situation. In fact, they seem to be very comfortable with it. But as we go along, you'll see kind of my hesitancy here. I'll just get into it in a little bit, but we're gonna get into that. And so we're gonna start off with and let's say as I'm going through this, let me say this too. Now, when you look at the Hebrew world, there's different. There are going to be some slight differences, between, depending on who you talk to. Some people believe that is, I would say for the most part, there are many Hebrew Israelites that do believe that that is the Promised Land. They do believe that. They just believe it's being preoccupied right now by the fake people. Okay, so that's one string of thought. There are others that believe that that's their land and that the people who are there are part of their bloodline. Okay, so you have that as well. But all in all, they're both sides are still part of the same general belief system. So you can't, as much as people will want to try to delineate themselves from these individuals, at the end of the day, you still have the baseline belief system that you both hold on to. So you can't separate yourself from that, even though you may try, but you still have the same belief system. Okay. And so what we're going to look at here is, let's start off with this post that I posted just earlier today. I don't know if you had time to look at it, but we'll just look at it here. Let's take a look here. So talked about Demona. It says Black Hebrew population in Demona is a literal danger zone. Wow, this is something when we start getting into this. To check this out. And it says our current, okay, I already talked about that. I said, let's see. Okay, so I said, so let's take a look at I said, for this post, let's take a quick look at their part of the Promised Land in Israel, which is called Demona. It's a town called Demona. And then I just got this from Wikipedia. Demona is an Israeli city in the Negev desert, 30 kilometers, to the southeast of Beersheba, and 35 kilometers or 22 miles west of the Dead Sea, above the Arava Valley in the southern district of Israel. In 2022, its population was over 36,000. The Shimon Peres Negev Nuclear Research Center, locally known as the Demona Reactor, is located about 8.1 miles away southeast of the city. Okay, so this city has a nuclear reactor. Okay. I'm trying to keep it together, y'all. I mean, anyway, Demona is described as a mini India by many of its 7,500 strong Indian Jewish community. It is also home to Israel's Black Hebrew community, formerly governed by its founder and spiritual leader, Ben Amim Ben Israel, now deceased. The Black Hebrews number about 3,000 in Demona, with additional families in Arad, Mitzpe, Ramon, and Tiberias areas. Their official status in Israel was an ongoing issue for many years, but in May 1990, the issue was resolved with the issuing of the first B-1 visas, and a year later issuing a temporary residency. Status was extended to August 2003 when the Israeli Ministry of Interior granted permanent residency. Okay. And then, since then they have gotten into, there's been a little push-pull there where they were threatening, the government of Israel was threatening to push out a small group of them. I don't know what all the reason was behind that, but there's been some push-pull on that, and I don't know if that's fully gotten resolved yet. But That's kind of what it is. So far, what we know is that this is a town south in the southern part of Israel, of the state of Israel. And inside this town, I would say according to this, about 8 miles southeast of this town is a nuclear reactor. Okay, but we're going to learn a little bit more about this nuclear reactor, because it's not just any nuclear reactor. Now, what is interesting is that there's also something pretty major. Okay, I just said that, right? And I said, that's right. The people, they are desperately trying to embrace, clearly see them a little bit differently, to say the least. So they were placed in the most vulnerable part of the promised land, or what they're calling the promised land. And for the slow amongst us, living anywhere near a nuclear reactor in the Middle East isn't exactly a safe location. All right. And I said, but the singing and tap dancing continues. You figured out. Because if you saw that article I posted yesterday, in that article, we talked about how, was it this one right here? Yeah, it was this one right here. I linked to an article where, yes, literally there's one guy that actually is a tap dancer, a Hebrew Israelite, is a tap dancer in Israel. Anyway, all right. I said, to give you an idea of just how vulnerable Demona is, there has been numerous reports on multiple threats that Iran would more than likely try to strike Demona nuclear reactor. Heck, years ago, then president of Iraq, Saddam Hussein, actually targeted Demona with missiles. Okay. The website for Arms Control Association, and I give you the link, actually details what would happen to Demona and the surrounding areas if Iran did successfully strike the plant. And then I conclude, I said, while America has a long history of its poor treatment of its black citizens, why on earth would anyone of sound mind opt to relocate to an apartheid state and live within miles of a nuclear reactor that continues to be targeted by Israel's surrounding enemies? And this is what I was saying to my wife earlier. Nobody in there, if you are not of sound mind, if you believe that living within 8 miles of a nuclear reactor in Israel is a safe place. Now you may say, well, nothing happened yet. Yeah, yet. But this place has already been hit by missiles. The website, if you go to the armscontrol.org, they actually detail exactly who would be impacted, how they would be impacted, and the spread. They already know. They've already planned that at some point this is going to happen. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. There are a lot. You remember when I was just saying this, why I spent the little time I did earlier making decisions based off of fear? Anybody of sound mind is not going to make a decision like this to live 8 miles from a nuclear reactor in Israel. But where do I get the apartheid from? Well, let's look at the definition of apartheid. Okay, let's look that up. It's right here. Okay, it says a policy or system of segregation or discrimination on grounds of race. That's the definition of it. So what they did when these people came over there, when they said the people came over there and they said, this is our promised land. This is our place according to the Bible that you gave us. And we see ourselves in this book. We believe that this is our promised land. And they said, okay, this is your promised land. Okay, we're going to have you go all the way out there over there, because that way, if we do get hit, y'all will be the first ones to get smoked. And this is why I said in the post that I did, I said, I think this Hebrew community, because it's called the Village of Peace, I said, I think this Hebrew community needs to rename their community to Cannon Fodder Heights. Okay. But sadly, even with that, it is still the promised land to them. Okay. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea. Of just where these people are located. And the location that was given to them tells you exactly, as much as they want to be like these people in Israel, the government of Israel thinks that low of them to place them within miles of a target where it can be instantly cooked. I'm taking my time with this because for some people, they don't take the time to think these things through. And I'm taking my time with this as well because there are other projects similar to this that has happened in the past. We've talked about that. And there are projects that even right now that people are pushing, trying to get people to move out of fear away from America or whatever. You got to move here. And one of these days, we're going to look at these individuals on all these different times within the Hebrew space where these projects were launched. I already got them. And there's some similarities with each of these instances, because in each case, the individuals that were leading it, they always saw themselves as the somewhat of the reincarnation of someone in the Bible. Yes, I've been tracking all of this. Even like I said, there's something even more recent that's happening right now. Where these individuals, there's something about this thing. That's why I said it's a cult. Not just here, Demona, just period. The whole Hebrew thing, it's a cult. Because eventually someone's going to materialize and start acting like, and start claiming that they're Moses or they're, or they're, the Messiah. Like in Demona, they believe that Ben Amim, he was the Messiah. He's a Messiah. And that's what they say. I got an interview here where they're actually claiming that. A very, very good interview. It was an interview done in, I believe it was, I don't know if it was in Africa or it was done by Africans. And you could tell it was done years ago. But anyway, so one of the things that, and we're going to be taking a chance with a couple of these videos here, simply because I know with one, there is music on this one, like this first one. Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah, they're picking that up. I may just kind of skip through this one and just show you the screenshots of it. But one of the things that I noticed was that there's a huge, well, not say huge, but there are a lot of these Hebrew Israelites that have located and relocated in Israel. A lot of them are very well intertwined with the system over there, particularly in the area of entertainment. And this is what I'm like, how do you, if these people are considered the fake people according to the general Hebrew narrative, why are you singing and dancing for them? So let's back up even more. The highest ascent that you can think of when it comes to the promised land is some back lot land 8 miles away from a nuclear reactor. That's your promised land. And for those that may be watching and saying, well, I'm gonna say this because listen, well, I disagree with that. I disagree with them going over there because see, the Bible says that he said that we're supposed to wait and he's going to pick us up. He's going to take us away and all of that. Okay, well, I'd much rather you do that than to think that you're going to use the Bible as some kind of manifest destiny. But at the end of the day, my point is that there's a lot of agreement that you still have. If you claim to be a Hebrew Israelite, there's a lot of agreement that you still have with these people. You may not agree with them going over there, but you still agree with a lot of things. So you, as much as you want to try to delineate yourself and say, nah, they ain't me, there's still a lot of things that you both agree with. And that's what we're going to be pointing out here. So again, so in this video, we're focusing on a lot of these, there's numbers of these individuals who are in the music scene over there. And it's not just the person that we were just talking about in the last video. It's many people. And like I said, this is an apartheid state. As much as they don't like me and other people saying that, it's an apartheid state. They don't like darker skinned people. They may be welcoming to a certain extent, but they don't like you. And someone may say, well, Dwayne, here in America, this is Babylon. And we got people that are singing and dancing in Babylon and stuff too. Yes, but many of the target audience of these individuals over here are black people. The main target audience in Israel is going to be Jewish people. There's nothing in your brain that doesn't register with that it doesn't register with your messaging. Anyway, so this first video, I can't show the video because I just realized that. I'm glad I checked before I hit the play button. This is a guy, they said, Israel's rising hip hop star, Hebrew Israelite Ben Blackwell. And so I can kind of scrub through it a little bit. And you see them proudly showing the Israeli flag, because in one of these videos I had, they talk about how it's a requirement for all of them. Because see, they're not just over there and just chilling. No. They had to make an agreement with the Israeli government that all of their children, once they reach over a certain age, they must serve in the Israeli government. So in essence, they're a branch of the Israeli government. These are mostly black Americans. All right. So like I said, I can't play this one, but this is him getting down. He's a rapper over there. And I'm just showing you some screenshots here. Okay. And he was talking about his father because he was born there, because, you know, by now you got a generation now that because they started over there like in the 70s, but, you know, they've since had children and all that. So now you got children that have been born and they're grown now, and they're over there. So this is him. He's filming his music video. Looks like in Old Town Jerusalem. This is them proudly showing the Israeli flag. All right, this is him here. This is the only video, by the way, where I only can do this. The other ones I'll be able to play it. And then always, always, always pay attention to who's behind the camera. Pay attention to who's always behind the camera. That's right. All right, so this is him. He's got his Israeli women and black women. They all in there. All the Hebrew women and Israeli women. They all booed up together. This is the promised land. Then he goes on, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it in this for that video. Let me see if I can get to that one. And nice little Israeli girl. This y'all Hebrew Israelites in the promised land. This how they get down. And ain't nobody want to talk about this though. All right, now here's one black Hebrews from Demona bringing Passover at the University of Haifa. Let's take a listen at them. Let's watch them in action. So they're in a room full of Jewish people. They getting down hand in hand, helping them to welcome in the Passover. Again, proving that they see themselves on equal standing, on the same level spiritually with these Jewish people. These are black Hebrew Israelites who have ascended to the heights of the promised land. And they're standing shoulder to shoulder with the Jews of Israel. Let's watch them in action. Oh, wait a minute. What's playing here? Hold on. I got something playing here. Oh, that's my music here. Hold on. All right, here we go. I want to make sure you got to be careful with the copyright. Okay, here we go. Dance, 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 dance. Ain't no valley low, riding up, baby. Cause baby, ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough. Come on, one day sing. These are Hebrew Israelites, y'all, singing for the Jewish people in Israel, in Haifa. This is where it's going. This is where it leads. This is where it leads. They're the fake people. We ain't got nothing to do with them. They're the fake people. I'm sorry, y'all. Oh man. I should have a sound effect like wong, wong. This is the promised land. I'm showing you the promised land, y'all. This is what the promised land looks like. Okay. So if you want to know, we're taking the mystery out of the promised land, and I'm showing you what the promised land is. Singing for Jewish people in Israel. I hate to show it. I hate to break it to you. Anyway, here's another one. Stuck in the middle with you. I ain't gonna even try to say that. And that is so-and-so and the African Hebrew Israelites. And here they go. This was done back, looked like in, I guess, 2019. Let's take a listen at this one. This might be this. Ooh, baby, here I am, sound living, I'm yours. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. Ah, woo! Anyway, I think that's enough of that one. But there you go. All right. Who else do we got here? Let's go to the next one. All right. This African Hebrew Israelite youth teach dance. So they over there, now you got Hebrew Israelites, African. Keep in mind now, these are Black Americans that went over there, and they are consciously doing this. They're teaching Jewish people dance. In fact, it's like a dance kind of thing. Like you got, I think in this video they talk about, it's like You got the Jewish school. They're teaching the African Hebrew Israelites how to dance, and then it's like a trade-off thing. So let's look at how the Hebrew Israelites in the Promised Land. Hey, 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 hey. The Jewish women teaching them how to dance. This is See, she's teaching them. She's teaching that this is the Promised Land, y'all. This is the Promised Land where she's teaching the Hebrew Israelites how to dance.
אנחנו פה בבית ספר גבריאל אומנויות הבמה. היוזמה היא שיתוף פעולה של בית ספר גבריאל עם ילדי אחווה.
היוזמה בעצם נולדה מהשאיפה שלי לתת ביטוי לתרבות של התלמידים שלי שהם תלמידי מגמת מחול בתיכון.
לור יצרה עימי קשר ושאלה אם אני אשמח לעבוד איתה על יוזמה של שיתוף פעולה בין התלמידים של אחווה לתלמידים של בית ספר גבריאל.
זה בעצם שיעור מחול שבועי של מחול אפריקאי והיפ-הופ, שבו התלמידים של בית ספר אחווה באים ללמד את התלמידים של בית ספר גבריאל.
הסגנונות ריקוד שלנו זה מחול קלאסי ובלט, והם מביאים משהו שונה, משהו שאנחנו קופצים, רוקדים.
כאפגן היינו רוקדים להתפלל לאלוהים. אז מתוך הריקוד אנחנו מתחברים לאנשים, תרבויות שונות, וזה מה שיפה וטוב בקהילה שלנו, שיש לנו את מה שלתרום לאנשים אחרים.
See, I'm just, oh shoot, hold on. So here we go. So they're teaching them dance. They teach got a whole room of young Jewish boys and girls, and she's teaching them how to dance. This is the Promised Land. So why does this not ever get brought up? I don't understand. Why all this time, why was this never brought up? This is the Promised Land? So you live near a nuclear, so they put you near a nuclear reactor, and then at the same time, you're teaching them how to dance. All right, let's continue on. Here's another one. All right. Now, this looked like it was some kind of variety show. The Soul Messenger Band, Hebrew Israelite Productions. All right, here's one here. This one looked like it was a long time ago. This is like during the Jerry Lewis days. You remember the Jerry Lewis telethon days? This kind of looks like that. But anyway, the quality isn't the greatest, but you can hear it. All right, look.
אומרות האגדות ישנו מקום שאיש ממנו חי עוד חזר והוא נקרא הסלע האדום או הסלע האדום האדום
Come on.
שלושה יצאו לדרך משקיעה
Come on now, this is the Promised Land now. Y'all need to be up dancing here.
ראשון הלך גשש מרים פניו
Hey.
בכוכבים שבמרום אך המראה אשר ראו עיניו היה מראה הסלע האדום או הסלע האדום האדום.
All right, you get the idea. You get the idea. All right, what else we have? What other kind of what other things they got going on in the Promised Land? Let me here it is. Okay, here's another one here. This is Black Hebrews Awesome Party. Now this looks like they're singing at like a either a bar or bat mitzvah. So, but yeah, let's look at this one here. Can y'all see? Okay, y'all can see it. Okay, here we go. Hey, hey. Come on. Come on, Black Hebrews. Oh yeah, here we go. All right, they cutting it. Well, you get the idea. Do I have another one here? Was that the one I was just playing? Let me see. Oh yeah, the other one is that interview that I might play there. So there are many others that I could find, but that's about enough there, you know, that give you a general idea of what's going on. And so yeah, so here's the thing. Again, I'm coming to you. I'm laying this out for someone to say, oh, you just cherry picking and all. No, this is it. This is part of what they're doing. And like I said, I've already talked about, you know, the fact that many of them, you know, the younger ones, at least once they reach a certain age, by law, they have to participate in the military. They have to they have to be in the military, the IDF. So they're in the IDF, proudly waving the Israeli flag. You saw that in that first video I showed you. You know, I had to skip through it. Singing and dancing, doing parties and all that stuff. They're doing all this stuff. So I'm asking you. So a lot of times, so this is what I want to say. So here's the thing. In the Hebrew metaverse, if you will, multiverse, you have, even though you may have some people over here in the States that may say, oh no, they ain't our people, but you still share a lot of the same beliefs. This is what I'm saying. And on this platform here, there are many people that are here that claim to be Hebrew, even though you're not over there dancing and singing like they're doing. But what you are doing is that you're looking over their shoulder to learn how to use their words, to learn their culture. And then one of y'all can tell me growing up used to call each other Ak and this is my Isha and all of that. Come on now. Ain't now one of y'all grew up like that. Where did you learn that? Watching them folks on YouTube. It didn't come through the Holy Spirit or whatever coming through your head and all of a sudden now your language changed. No, you had to learn that from somewhere. You certainly didn't say, well, the Mishpachah and I, we're getting together. We're going to do. You learned that from them. You learned that from them. The Torah in of itself, it came from them. They wrote it. They put it together. They preserved it. They passed it down. And then it was packaged in a Bible, what's called the Bible, where it spread out even further to all these different other beliefs that are out there. But they did that. When you meticulously go through Central and Southern African history, you're not going to find them studying the Torah. Now, you may find them doing some of the things such as what the priest would do, like the cleansing or whatever, and they may have, there's some aspects of that, but that doesn't mean that they got that from the Torah. That's a mistake is that a lot of people make, is that they'll say, well, see, in this culture here, they're doing exactly what's in the Bible. Well, what if they didn't, what if it wasn't that way? What, maybe it was the cart that was leading the horse in this one. In other words, what I'm saying is that may have been a practice that was going on even before that. You understand? Some things we just don't know on that. But to assume that everything originated from these people here, it's not historically accurate. It just isn't. Certainly not historically accurate for those of us that can trace our roots through the transatlantic slave trade. It's certainly not us. So in conclusion of this broadcast, I'm just simply saying this, and I'm asking you, when you think of the promised land, do you envision that? Is that what comes to your mind? Do you envision living about 8 miles away from a nuclear reactor, away from the general population? Do you envision yourself singing and dancing and teaching those that have made it very clear that they hate you? Do you envision that? That's the highest ascent you see for yourself, is doing that. That's what you see for yourself, or fighting in their army, the same army that's going just a little ways away from them across the border, where they're slaughtering children, men, and women. Oh, but this is just part of the promised land, and there's some things I don't agree with, but hey, at the end of the day, No, you're still tied to that. Like, I was listening to one of the members. Oh, I think he's one of the leaders of that Demona community. And he was being very clear. He said, listen, now he was talking about the things they agree with when it comes to the people of the Jewish people of Israel. And he said, there's some things they don't agree with. He said, when it comes to the Judaism, he said, we part ways on that. But yeah, you may part ways with that, but do you embrace the Torah? Yes. Well, that's part of Judaism. You can't tell them not. You can't go to their land and tell them that they're doing their stuff wrong. Anyway, so I do want to show you this. Since we got this up here, let me see if I can get. Oh, this. Okay, this is an interview. It's called African Treasures. I don't even know this guy. I never even heard of him. And I'm just going to play like halfway through. I'm just going to show you, just since it's up on my browser, I'm just going to play a little bit of it. I found it to be somewhat interesting. And it kind of ties in. This is a guy, the guy that's being interviewed. He's Hebrew Israelite. I believe he's part of the Demona community. And he's being interviewed by an African gentleman. And this is a video that I may revisit in a future video. But since it's up on my browser, that's the only reason why I'm playing it now. And so let me see if I can remember what part, but I'll just start playing it and then I'll probably remember at what part I want to start.
Words of the inspired prophets of the Old Testament.
Leave the Bible from Genesis to Revelation.
Okay, let me go back.
And now you have a settlement in Demona, Israel, right?
Demona.
Oh, you know what? Let me start at the beginning.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we'll just delve right into it and first ask who and what are the African Hebrew Israelites?
We are historically the people of the Bible. Starting with Adam and coming forward, there's a lineage that flows all the way through till you get to Abraham, who's noted as a Hebrew. And then we flow continuously till we get to Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. His descendants then are known as Hebrew Israelites.
Let me stop here because someone said something. I thought it was a really good point here. Let me put it to the broadcast here. RJ said, the Nation of Islam says it's different from Orthodox Islam, but it still embraces Islam. That's exactly what I'm saying. You can't say, because I'm telling you, they're going to be Hebrews. They're going to watch everything that we just talked about in this broadcast, and they're going to find any kind of way to try to delineate themselves from these people. But the bottom line is you share a common thread in your belief system. So as much as you may want to try, this is all part of what you're connected to. Okay. So I just wanted to stop there for a second. It was a very good point. Thanks for sharing it, RJ. Appreciate it. All right, let's go back.
Became the 12 tribes of Israel.
Okay.
History continues, and we find that the 10 tribes of the northern part of the country were dispersed, never to be restored, and the southern 2 tribes, which we read about in what's called the New Testament, Judah and Benjamin, stayed present in the land until 70 AD, which was the final dispersion by the Roman general Titus. That caused a migration of Judeans and Benjamites and sprinklings of the other tribes throughout the continent of Africa, eastward to India, China, and we have a museum which you'll speak to later that details that. But that's where how we become known as Hebrew Israelites.
And hence the African part of it is due to the disbursement of the community.
Well, Israel is Northeast Africa. It is landlocked with Egypt. That whole Arabian Peninsula wasn't called the Middle East until the mid-40s. A war correspondent coined the term. Before that, it was known as Northeast Africa.
Interesting. I don't think a lot of people...
Which is true. What he's saying is absolutely true. Israel is technically part of the continent of Africa. But what I also want to point out is something he just said is that he talked about the disbursement. Now, this is him. This is what he's saying. The disbursement, it went east. He didn't say anything about West Africa. But if you watch some of the videos of the people of Demona when they're playing drums, guess what they're playing? The djembe. The djembe drum, you know where it originated? In West Africa. So according to him, at least, he's not even claiming West Africa. He's saying east of where they are. But what are you doing with the djembe? The djembe. Okay. Anyway, we'll get into that. I'll talk about that one day too.
Knew that. So now overall with your community, what are the community beliefs? What are the community's core values? And what distinguishes you from other religions?
Well, first, we're not a religion.
Okay.
It is a culture. We're a truth-centered culture, a God-centered culture. Everything in the community revolves around the instructions, or what's typically called the laws of the Creator.
Okay.
And everything's built on those tenets. Our diet, our dress, our attire, everything that we do has to be God-centered.
So by God-centered, you talk about God-centered translated into your clothing and your diet. Could you speak a little bit more about the diet and what, because I know that is something that is of an issue with society as a whole. We have all these illnesses that are coming up, and how does our diet and what diet can we lean towards to make us more wholesome?
Excellent question. Our entire community, we're a community of vegans, meaning we don't eat any animal byproducts or nothing refined. We're moving towards a more live food-oriented diet as well. We take that from Genesis 1:29 to contrast that with the Levitical law, which states that there are clean and unclean meats. When you're talking about the law, there's always a preferred or an eternal essence or idea. And the original concept of diet given to man created by God was plants and fruits.
Right.
So we've returned to that, and we found that returning to the intended diet as prescribed by our Creator, that we've been able to eradicate disease, health issues, and a lot of things that are plaguing our people the planet over. It is awesome testimony what diet can do to change not only your health, but your mental disposition as well. Very
true. Because I noticed on your website you had a book that is written, I suppose, by your, I don't know what official term Ben-Ami has, but there was a book that he wrote relating to diet?
Not specifically. We do have books relative to diet, transitioning from meat-oriented diet. Those are penned by one of the Crown Sisters, which is one of the governmental elevations, Aparthied. And we have a new soul vegetarian cookbook. We are the world's largest chain of vegan restaurants.
Oh, interesting. And there are some in the local community here in Atlanta?
2 here in Atlanta, well, 3. We have a live food restaurant, Everlasting Life, and 2 restaurants, Soul Vegetarian South Complex in the West End, and Soul Vegetarian number 2, which is in the Virginia Highland area.
Okay.
What's funny is I think I actually went when I first moved to Atlanta. I think I actually went to one of those. Yeah, they're, when it comes to the diet, they stay very, from what I understand, they stay very strict to that as far as eating vegan and all of that, staying healthy along those lines. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But let me bring this up right quick here, because he said something that I think is worth pointing out. He said that they are not a religion. Here's a definition of a religion: the belief in the worship of a superhuman power or powers, especially a god or gods, a particular system of faith and worship. All right. And then it says a pursuit or interest to which someone ascribes supreme importance. Everything he's describing is a religion. So, when people, a lot of times, they will try to, delineate themselves from, no. Being a Hebrew is not a religion at all. It's very much so, because the center of what your lifestyle is centered around your God, which is Yahweh. Okay. All right, let's go back.
What inspired you to join this community?
In general, a disappointment with the affairs of my people. Taking a practical look at how black people in America, but not just black people in America, black people the world over, people of color the world over, how my exposure to history showed that they'd always been the tail.
Right.
But when I look back, I mean, the civilizations, the great ancient civilizations of Babylon and Egypt and Songhai, Mali, these were great civilizations.
Indeed.
How do the richest people or the richest continent host the poorest people? And that began to cause me to have a spiritual unrest, an uneasiness, because I had attained success, education in the American system, and found myself feeling ill, my vision was affected, my health was affected. And I was like, well, I got money, I got notoriety, I had a void.
Right.
I was missing truth. I wasn't living a truth-centered life. And spirituality, as we define it, is a God-given ability to hear, discern, and do truth. And once you align yourself with that truth, there are regenerative powers. And we know the statistics of our people, whether we're on the continent, whether we're in America, they're the sickest, they're the poorest, they're the most disenfranchised on the planet.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much for that insightful inspiration to how you entered the community. Stay tuned, and we'll be back for more information and a dialogue with the African Hebrew Israelites. We are bringing the treasures of
Okay. Hey man, what's this? This is like an old commercial here. Hold on. Let me let this play out.
Africa from all parts of the world straight to you.
Welcome to Atlanta, Miss Nigeria. We're so glad to have you here.
Thank you very much, Miss Nigeria Atlanta. I'm so glad to be here, and your city is so beautiful.
Yes, Atlanta is a very multicultural city with lots of African American businesses.
Well, talking about businesses, how do I get to do my nails, my hair, see a doctor or dentist or something?
Well, the Metro Ebony pages would be your answer. We have 2 editions, one that focuses on North Atlanta and one on South Atlanta, and it will tell you everything that you need to know.
Oh, really? Wow. Metro Ebony pages.
Yeah, Metro Ebony pages.
See, this is before the FBA and all the diaspora wars. Anyway, let's go on. It's pretty cool. All right, here we go.
The African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem is the focus of our show today. And thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
In the last segment, when my co-host was talking to you about your religion or lifestyle, so you put forward that the organization of what you're doing is a lifestyle, not a religion.
Correct.
So actually it doesn't have a name.
It's the African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem.
These are the people.
Yes.
And your religion is no name.
We're not religious.
Okay.
Religion are based on the beliefs and traditions of men. We are a body of men and women governed by God, the laws of God.
Okay.
We are a national whole, as Israel has always been identified as a nation. Once you can link yourself to a land, a language, and a culture, you can be considered a national whole.
Now, there's something we didn't touch on the first time. I'd like to touch on it a little bit. In 1967, your leader, Ben Ami, took a group of people from America here and journeyed to Africa in Liberia. Stayed there for 2 years, and you call it the period of cleansing, right?
Right.
Yes.
Before they took off to Israel.
Correct.
And now you have a settlement in Demona, Israel, right?
Demona, amongst other cities in it.
And peep the history that he's given there. He said that they went to Liberia for a hot minute for 2 years, and they said that was a period of cleansing, and then they jettisoned off to Israel. Like I told you, these people, as much as they may call themselves African Hebrew Israelites or just Hebrewites in general, there is an underlying disdain for Africa. It is an underlying disdain that you will find in many Hebrew Israelites camps that you'll find here in the States predominantly. There's an underlying disdain for it because they want to separate themselves. To them, Africa is the land of Hamites. For many of them, they'll see that. Now, and then what's so funny to me is that then when they have their in-gatherings or whatever, half the people are wearing dashikis and African clothing. Make it make sense, somebody. But anyway, so I just wanted to point that out. Let's get back to the interview here.
And now you have attained citizenship there.
Correct.
You've been staying there from 1969 to the present day.
Correct.
I just want to touch on that because it's a very important foundation. And there you don't call yourselves Americans, do you?
No.
You call yourself African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem.
Of Jerusalem.
All right. Now, it's difficult to talk about Israel and Jerusalem without talking about the Bible. Do you believe in the Bible?
Absolutely.
Do you look at it as the authority?
Yes.
Absolutely. As authoritative frame of reference?
Yes.
Do you see it as the Word of God?
It is the Word of God. It is actually the Constitution for the nation of Israel.
Okay.
The first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah. In whole, the Bible is known as the Tanakh.
Okay.
And it's composed of the Torah, the first 5 books, the prophetic writings, as well as the historical writings, Chronicles, Kings, and what have you.
Then let me ask you this. The Bible is comprised of Old Testament and New Testament.
Correct.
Now, do you believe the Bible from Genesis to Revelation? Everything in between?
We take the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. What we differ in, if there's anything in what's called the New Testament,
right,
then if it does not confer with the words of the inspired prophets of the Old Testament,
right,
it has no validity. Because the prophets in the Old Testament came and said, "Thus saith the Lord."
Yeah.
We have letters, epistles, and writings of various persons who were involved in the movement to redeem our people, but didn't necessarily, weren't necessarily the anointed, or I should say weren't the anointed. With the assassination or murder or crucifixion of Yeshua, many called Jesus, then you had a splinter. And the New Testament did not exist until some 70, or those
after
letters,
death.
After the death of
Let
Yeshua.
me jump in and ask you this then. You do recognize that there was a time when somebody named Jesus was on earth, right? You do acknowledge that?
Yeshua would be the historically correct name.
Now,
So, yes.
now I'm not talking about nomenclatures. I'm not talking about what is called, but there's an individual that people call different kind of names, but he's the same person. Now, your leader is Benjamin. Okay. Do you regard him as the Messiah? Do you view him as the Messiah or just a spiritual leader?
Both.
He's a Messiah.
Absolutely.
If he's regarded as the Messiah, this is the Messiah that they prophesied in Isaiah, Ezekiel that's supposed to come and save his people.
Correct.
Okay, so you have him in the person of Ben-Amin, right?
Ben-Amin.
That's what your belief is?
That's correct.
Okay, now, who do you think Jesus is then? What is Jesus to you?
Well, we have to look at Yeshua, the Hebrew Messiah, versus Jesus, the Christian Christ. What you had historically was the advent of Christianity. And with Christianity and the various ecumenical councils, 300 AD and coming forward, you had the creation of what we have today as the Christian religion. In it, you had the formulation of a Greco-Roman tainted Messiah, Jesus the Christian Christ. Jesus is and Jesus Christ is in syntax both Roman and Greek. Now, we'd have to ask our question, would a Hebrew Messiah who was oppressed by both Greeks and Romans allow himself to be called by a Greco-Roman name and title? So Mashiach, which is the correct Hebrew term for Messiah, means the brother with the anointed or the anointed one, has been in existence since Adam. And the chosen from that, all the judges, the prophets coming from that for the kings were anointed of God.
Let's stop. You know, sometimes I zone out a little bit, I'll be honest with you, but sometimes I don't zone out too much. Because, you know, when you're dealing with religious folk, they like to throw a lot of word salad at you. Okay, but let me stop here where he says the word Mashiach actually existed in the garden in the time of Adam. Do you remember the video that we did where we talked about the Mashiach, what he's really saying? I want to tell you what he's really saying. Okay, hold on, let me see if I can find this, because this is a very important point for me to bring up for you. Okay, so if you don't mind here for a moment, let me see if I can bring that up for you here. All right, let me see. Okay, let me see if I can bring that up for you here. I have it here. Let me find it. It's another page here. Because the word Mashiach is tied to something else that he's not saying. And notice, like I said again, we're just simply going by what he just said out of his mouth. And this is a very important point. This is what I'm saying when this stuff gets hidden. I'm glad I got a screenshot of it, but let's see, hold on. Okay. I'll just have this page up on the screen here, but let me just tell you, okay? So Mashiach is basically tied to the word Nakash. All right. It may or may not be on this page here, but I have the screenshots and all that. I've talked about this many times and I've shown it many times. It's in one of my thousands of slides that I have here. All right. I mainly just brought this up because it got the snake on the cross here. Okay. On the serpent on the, this is what Moses was told to hold up, right? The brazen serpent. When you look this up, it's actually Nakash, The serpent that spoke to Eve, according in the Bible, according to the biblical account, was a nakash. All right, that serpent. Okay, that's a serpent. But when you look at what's it called, the numerology, Kabbalah numerology, which is part of Judaism, nakash, the same numerology that's used for nakash, also spells out Messiah. So this is what he's talking about when he says that the name, the word Messiah goes all the way back to the garden. He's absolutely right. The Messiah and Nakash were one and the same. And then when you jump to this account, when Moses had to lift the brazen serpent up in the wilderness, the serpent was a Nakash. Another name for it is Nakash. The serpent also functioned as a what? As a Messiah. It came to save those people, because these people had gotten bitten by the snakes and all of that. And according to the biblical story, they had to look upon this snake in order to get healed. So this was a Nakash, or a Messiah. So this is the hidden stuff that just gets glossed over, like people like this who are saying this stuff. Well, yeah, well, the name Messiah actually, it goes all the way back to the garden. It sure does. But guess what? It was the snake. See, when you embrace Judaism is baked in. There's all kinds of stuff baked into it. It's all kinds of stuff baked into Judaism. And so you, as a Hebrew Israelite, as much as you want to say you don't have anything to do at all with Judaism, you very much are standing on Judaism. And once you dig into Judaism, in the Torah, I only do the Torah. That's all I focus on is the Torah. The Torah came from them. And when you listen to them and they explain the Torah to you, they will point out all these different things that are in the Torah that you ain't catch, because you're not them, because they wrote it. And remember, we talked about, going back again, Nicole brought up the whole thing with the Jewish, the Hebrew calendar. When you look at the Hebrew calendar and hold it side by side, as we've done many, many times here, when you hold it side by side with the Babylonian calendar, it's the same thing. They are literally month to month to month are calling out the same Babylonian gods. We looked at all of that. We shared all of that with you. Yeah, the gematria is Jewish gematria, basically, and that's where that numbering thing comes from. When it comes to when you're looking at Messiah or Nakash, which someone like accurately pointed out in the comments section, winged serpent. So he's absolutely right, and he may not even realize what he's saying. But that's what it is. And like I said, we've done videos on this. If you go to our Who in the L series, I think I've covered it in there. But this is a topic we have talked about many, many times. All right, so let's go back here and let's continue to listen to him.
There was to be a perpetual
I'll go back a little bit.
For Messiah means the brother with the anointed or the anointed. In syntax, both Roman and Greek. Now, we'd have to ask our question, would a Hebrew Messiah, who was oppressed by both Greeks and Romans, allow himself to be called by a Greco-Roman name and title? So Mashiach, which is the correct Hebrew term for Messiah, means the brother with the anointed or the anointed one, has been in existence since Adam. And the chosen from that, all the judges, the prophets coming from that, for the kings were anointed of God. And there was to be a perpetual head of Israel to sit on that throne, and it flowed all the way until today. And we find that after the dethroning or deposition of Haile Selassie, who sat on the throne after that, because he was the 225th. So we ask who was the 226th, and we have to look to what is the calling of the Messiah. The Messiah was to, one, bring the people under the dictates of the God of creation, the laws of God. He was to gather the people and to return them to the land. Based on that, we can be pretty sure that Ben-Ami has made manifest and fulfill those dictates.
That's something that I'm sure some of our viewers may be trying to know. And I'm going to ask you this, and if you can make your answers a little brief,
I will.
So that some other people can jump in. Now, the Christians believe that Jesus was crucified, he was buried, third day he rose and ascended into heaven, and is coming back again. Eschatology. I'm sure you've heard that term.
Yes.
So what's your take on it? Is that a lie or is that something? I mean, how do you look at that?
Well, we find first that the Sanhedrin court, the Pharisees, Sadducees, and the like, plotted to kill the Messiah of that time because they were appointed by the Romans who were in occupation at that time. So, in fact, we find that those who were in leadership positions didn't want to lose that position, and this is written in the New Testament. As we move forward, then we have to take into account that the Eurocentric influence of the day, we have to consider Hellenism, which was the Greek way of life, and the Hellenistic influence at the time, which is what caused the Sanhedrin court to side against a Hebrew Messiah who was directly opposed to the Roman occupiers or the oppressors. So as we move forward on that, then after his death, those who were left to maintain the leadership of that movement came up with a concept that would hold the people in place until another Messiah made his presence known, or until Yah raised up, or God raised up another Messiah in the midst.
And that's how they made up you believe they made up the issue of the story about resurrection and coming back again and all that kind of stuff, in your own opinion. So you think it's a made up story? He didn't really resurrect, and he's not coming back again.
There are, and we don't have them here with us today, but there is anthropological, studies done, articles written to that fact, that one, we don't know today of anybody who's died and come back, okay? And then we have to understand that in the Messianic concept, that's just not God's redemptive plan.
Please hold that thought, okay? We shall be right back. It's getting very interesting.
Okay, I think it ends there, believe it or not. I don't know if there's part 2 on that, but yeah, well, they say part 1. I'll try to see if I can find part 2. But this is just a little bonus piece that I'm just wanted to share with y'all. It's related, to the topic of this particular broadcast here. I just figured I'd share it with you because it's been up here. But anyway, so just a recap for those that are just joining us again. At the beginning of this broadcast, we just talked about the importance of not making decisions based off of fear. You can look at that. That was probably about the first 10 or 15 minutes. And then after that, we dove right into the main topic, which was looking at these people that this gentleman that you were just listening to that was being interviewed, who's part of this Demona, what you want to call it, community. I guess this guy, this video was done some years ago, but this interview was taking place in Atlanta apparently, but he's still connected to it. I don't know where he is now, but that was them. But he's connected to him, and he was their spokesperson in this particular interview here. And so, so there was a couple of, I think, takeaways. Number one, the thing that stood out to me was the fact that when it comes to the dispersion, what they believe is the dispersion of these of the Jewish people coming out of Israel, they believe that they dispersed into Africa, but they went Africa, but also went east, as far east as into India. But when it comes to West Africa or Central Southern Africa, there's no mention of it. So for those of you who will say, that the real Hebrews are Bantu, well, you're not in that number according to them, even though if you go through their lineage, they're very much Bantu. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. So the historicity of what they even stand on, it varies from them to people over here. It's all over the place. All right. So the main part of this video was this whole claim that Israel, the land of Israel, you have not all people who claim to be Hebrews claim that what we call today the state of Israel is the promised land. I want to be very clear with that. But there are many who do. All right. There's movements that are afoot right now where you got people who believe that Israel, the true Israel, is in Central or Southern Africa. There's people who believe that. And then they pull up all kinds of reasonings that they believe that. Right. My contention with that, again, is much of that is based off of old European maps. So you're back at depending on what the Europeans are saying. And if you're going to go by the European maps that name these different old, these ancient places in Africa and gave them biblical names, then you have to be consistent with your logic by also saying places like Bethlehem, Pennsylvania is also part of Israel. You know what I mean? Or Zarephath, New Jersey. That's a biblical name. So you got to understand, a lot of these Christians, when they dispersed all throughout the world, that was what they did. They will always name these different places after biblical names. You got biblical names all throughout Utah, the state of Utah. It doesn't mean that was Israel. You understand what I'm saying? So when you start diving in and listening to these individuals who are saying over here, this is Israel, this is the true Israel, you can't just go by what they're saying. And because what a lot of these people do was they will sew together the narratives that they are trying to build. You will find some similarities in practices when it comes to what's being said in the Bible and stuff that was practiced in ancient times in places like Central and Southern Africa. There are some similarities, right? But that doesn't, just because there's similarities, it doesn't establish a fact. Do you understand what I'm saying? It doesn't establish a fact. And so again, then you got to go to the historicity of the Bible itself. Who are the people who wrote the Bible in the first place? Who put it together? Where does the word Bible even come from? It comes from a town called Byblos. Byblos was located in the Levant, it was north of Israel. It was a place where the Phoenicians controlled it. Byblos is it comes from it's a Phoenician word for basically papyrus, sorry. And basically the town of Byblos, they had their own Phoenician god. So the word Bible actually is named after a Phoenician city who had a Phoenician god that they worshiped. Okay. So what you're seeing happening in certain parts of Africa is that, once again, they're embracing, it may not be Christianity, but now they're embracing this Hebrew construct where they're sewing things together and building this new construct that's still based off of these same people that these people were singing and dancing for, what we were showing earlier in this broadcast. It's still based off of their own narratives. They put this together. And so when you have people saying, okay, this is the promised land over here, or that's the promised land over there, and all this other stuff, it's based off of a narrative that was designed by the very people that hate you. And when they were putting that together, they were not thinking about you or your black behind. Okay? I know for some people that's a very hard thing to take in, but it's true. Once you take the time and look at it from an honest perspective and really about truth at the end of the day. Now, I don't hate these people. I've said over and over again, I don't hate Hebrew Israelites. I don't hate Christians. I don't hate that at all. But at the same time, we're going to be honest. Just like I had to go through this. I had to be honest with myself and say, wait a minute, I'm repeating things that these Europeans and these other people have been saying for years and years and years, but I've never inspected it or asked questions myself. It's time for me to start doing it. And once I began to do that, then I began to get a lot more clarity on a lot of this stuff. And I'm still learning. So ask yourself at the conclusion, as we're at the conclusion of this broadcast here, does your promised land look like a place where you will be living 8 miles away from a nuclear reactor that's being targeted by Iran that can go off at any moment? Does your promised land look like a place where you will be singing and dancing and literally tap dancing, teaching Jewish people how to sing and dance? Is that your promised land? Well, I'm arguing right now that if you are embracing any part of this doctrine, this is where it's heading. You can try to use imagination, try to fill in the blanks, but ask yourself the language that you're using: shalom, mishpokah, khan, ak, more. Where do you get those words from? You didn't get that from your own immediate families. That came through a belief system that belongs to a whole different culture. And you have to learn to be honest with yourself with this. Okay? So that's all I have for you. I hope you got something out of this broadcast. As always, if you have any questions for me, you can always leave those questions in the comment section. We simply ask for you to be respectful, also stay on topic, and you can ask whatever questions you wish based on the topic of this video. In other words, don't leave a comment about something else on another video, but just stay on topic. That's all we ask, and be respectful. And as long as you're doing that, you're cool. But if you start going off and then want to start getting ignorant and disrespectful, yes, you will be blocked. Okay. And some people walk away, think that, oh, he blocked me because I was getting in his grill. No, I blocked you because you weren't even following instructions. As you know by now, we're not running from nobody. You know what I'm saying? We're not running. We've been here and we're going to stay here, as long as we need to. But that's it. We're all done here. That's it. I hope you got something from this. Keep your eyes on the community page. We'll be posting a lot more different things on there. The next, or soon, what we will be doing is we're going to look at, and I said this earlier, we're going to look at this whole history. When you look at this, when you're looking at the history of Hebrew Israelites, both here in this country and other places. And we've done that quite extensively here. When you go back to the beginning and then you start moving forward, you're going to see this tendency every now and then in some fraction of the Hebrew Israelite movement. There's always a leader or leaders that rise up that want to claim themselves as some kind of physical manifestation of someone in the Bible. I'm going to take you all the way back to I think this is the late 60s and late 70s. There was a couple of instances there. Going through the 80s, we're going to look at that as well. And then we're going to look at the present time on some people right now who are claiming that role. You got one person right now that's calling himself Melchizedek and is functioning as a Moses, believing that his call is to bring people into Africa. We're going to talk about that individual. All right. We're also going to talk about some other individuals that say that they're Moses and Joshua. They're the manifestation. This is stuff that's happening right now. Okay. And we're going to put them all together and show you the pattern. All right. And at the end of the day, it all spells one thing, and that is a cult. All right. Okay. That's it. I think that's all I have for you. Thank you so much. RJ. We may have touched on that on Central South America a while back, but I'll look through and see what I have, and if I do have something, I'll post it up. Okay, yeah, there was a black Jim Jones. I talked about that, and he was Hebrew Israelite. The last name is Brown is coming up for some reason. I can't recall right now, but we've talked about that. He was considered the black Jim Jones. He was working hand in hand with the CIA, and he was using the Hebrew Israelite construct to get black people to move to, it was somewhere in South America. It wasn't too far from Jim Jones, because this was during the time when the CIA was experimenting like this, using religion to experiment on black people to see how far black people would go. Jim Jones, that was one example. All right. And then this guy, he was right behind them. They were literally laying out the same kind of structure in terms of living arrangements and everything. He was working hand in hand with the local government. This Black Jim Jones guy that he's referring to, they were working hand in hand. Guyana, that's what it was. It was Guyana. They're working hand in hand with the government. They even became the muscle of the government in Guyana because the United States was attempting to infiltrate the Guyanian government down there. And they were using Hebrew Israelites to do this. All right. So we'll be getting into all of that in the near future. And we're going to continue to look into this whole thing about what exactly are the Hebrew Israelites in the promised land, the state of Israel. What are they up to? And we're going to be looking even further in that. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care, and I'll see you again soon.